nerdy and intelligent. This episode will focus on psychology in relation to finals, and we look at the origin of IQ testing. Sue Ellen discombobulates into the story.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Afterpreneur. Ça va?
Ça va bien, merci, but do you mind speaking English for this interview?
My apologies.
It's alright, so how did you become a psychologist?
Well, I did not formally study psychology in a university, but I had great interest in the subject, and I read many books on it. I'm kind of a self-taught psychologist.
What was your contribution to psychology?
Well, I am mainly known for the development of the mental age.
Can you elaborate on this?
Well, with new laws requiring all children to go to school in France, issues arose with the fear that some students will not benefit from this regular curriculum. Therefore, Theodore Simon and I developed an objective test to identify those that might struggle with in school. We came with the concept of mental age, a chronological age that corresponds to the given level of performance. Mental aptitude, or one's general mental capacity, is also measured on this test.
In general, how do you view the concept of intelligence in children?
Well, I believe that all children have the same course in their mental development, but some development is more rapid than others. Those who develop more slowly will need some extra help.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for the scoop, Sue Ellen. After interviewing Vinay, we decided we should put his test to the test. Gertrude and Marge enunciate into the story.
This week on Geek Walking, we visited Neuqua Valley's Fine Arts Festival with 4 IQ questions to put our community's knowledge to the test.
Which of the following words does not belong?
Marmalade?
Correct!
I'm going with marmalade.
Yes.
Marmalade? You guys are all right. Yeah, you're right. It was marmalade. The day before yesterday, is 3 days after Saturday. What day is it today? Is it Friday? You're right.
Tuesday.
No, it's actually Friday.
Oh,
Saturday.
No.
You said what day is it today?
Friday.
Yeah. Good job.
Being recorded here.
Yes. you
Number
are.
one, am I going to be in a Facebook?
No.
Okay, that'd be Tuesday. I'm gonna go with B.
That's actually incorrect.
I had a feeling it would be correct.
Okay, so how many guesses? Say D. That's actually incorrect. It's C. I would.
It's 1, 2. Hi, Shirley. How are you? Good, you? I would guess B.
That's actually incorrect. It's actually C.
I would say this guy.
That's in the sequence. That's the sequence.
Sometimes different, so I would say this.
That's actually incorrect.
Okay, what is the correct one
It's
then?
this one.
How do I know?
What is the following number in this sequence? Next to this sequence.
Hold on a second, I gotta think about this. The wrong one to be asking this, right? C.
Do you have an answer?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I'm actually gonna go with C also.
You're both actually incorrect. It's B.
Dang it!
125? That was the same too.
That's actually correct.
Whoa! No.
3 by 9.
So, 125?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
80.
It's actually 125.
From the streets of downtown Naperville to the Education Portal Filming Studio, there's much to learn about memory. Agnes gestures into the story on this week's edition of Geek Portal.
With finals quickly approaching, students are cramming for their upcoming exams. Such mass practice doesn't work very well for remembering information, but here are some tips on short-term memory to keep in mind. Behind me is a layout of memory. Today we will be focusing on short-term memory, which is located in between the sensory registers and long-term memory. Short-term memory, also known as working memory, stores and processes information. As only 7 plus or minus 2 items can be stored in short-term memory, you can utilize chunking to remember more. In a later segment, we will go into specific mnemonic devices that can be used for such practice. For now, we will focus on the movement of information. It is important to use elaborative rehearsal to connect information from the short-term memory into long-term memory. But the only way for information to stay in short-term memory is through rote rehearsal, or repeating things over and over again in your head. Without rote rehearsal, all that hard work put into chunking will be forgotten in about 15 to 20 seconds due to decay or interference of new information. Overall, it will be beneficial to really put in the time to study, but if it's 5 minutes before your psych final and you need to memorize all of the psychologists, group them into similar chunks to increase how much you can remember. That's all we have time for today. I'm Agnes, and thanks for watching Geek Portal.
Now that we've learned about short-term memory, we can apply our knowledge of mnemonics and chunking to increase our memory in a short period of time. Jared crams into the story with a segment of last-minute study tips with Jared.
Oh, hey guys. Ever had a test and need to cram all night long? Well, of course you have. Here are some ways to help you ace that extremely hard exam. There are 6 common mnemonic devices that are used to increase the amount of information you can remember in your short-term memory. Acrostics involves using keywords in which you amend a sentence where the first letter is a cue for an idea. Example here is, never eat soggy waffles. Acronym involves using keywords as well, in which you invent a combination of letters, each acting as a cue for ideas in which you need to remember. The FIT principle: frequency, intensity, and time. Narrative method. It can be used to memorize lists in which you develop a story where each word you have to remember cues to the next. Napoleon had his ear to the door to listen to the Germans. Rhymes and songs. For example, a song to remember. French conjugations.
Je suis tué, il est, nous sommes set, elles sont, le verbe to be.
Method of loci is used to memorize up to 20 items in a list, in which items are placed in specific locations in a familiar room. For example, you can remember your grocery list by replacing items such as toothpaste using your morning routine with items from the list. Pegger method. This is where you relate a number to a peg to an item. So you can use 1 bun, 2 shoe, 3 tree, 4 door, 5 hive, 6 stick. Keep these in mind when you're math practicing before your finals. And if you're struggling to remember the order of Kubler-Ross's stage of grief, acronyms can be a big help.
Thank you for all those helpful tips. Now we all will ace those finals. But don't get too worried, because your body will fight back. Agnes and Sue Ellen will parasympathetic into a short skit to help you better understand.
Hey, what's going on? You look exhausted.
I am. I've been stressing out about the psychology final coming up. I have a 90.5 in the class, and I have to get an A.
Don't worry about it too much. You know that too much stress is bad for your health.
Bad for your health? What?
Definitely. Stress might even be covered on the final. Let me help you out.
Okay, sounds good.
Let's start out with the basics. Stress is a process in which we perceive and respond to certain events that we consider threatening or dangerous. There's eustress, or the good type of stress, which promotes growth. And then there's distress, or the bad type of stress, which places excessive demands on us. Therefore, stress can either be good for us, but too much puts a toll on our body.
So, what can I do to minimize these risks?
Well, the best is probably aerobic exercise. Aerobic exercise, or sustained exercise that increases heart rate and lung fitness, is a great technique that can alleviate depression and anxiety. Biofeedback is another method that consists of a system for electronically recording, amplifying, and feeding back information about changes in tension, mostly used for tension headaches. Lastly, some social support promotes happiness and health by making you feel affirmed and encouraged. Overall, stress can affect some people more than others, depending on life events and personality.
I don't really think biofeedback can really help me with my finals, but I will definitely give exercise a try. Thanks for the help.
No problem.
Now that you've learned all you need to know about cramming for finals and the history behind intelligence testing, it's time to explore a fascinating psychological disorder that will leave you speechless.
Hello, we are here today with a psychologist and specialist in anxiety disorders.
Thanks so much for having me.
We asked our audience members to come up with a few questions about anxiety disorders, and a topic that came up is selective mutism. What can you tell us about that?
Well, selective mutism is actually an anxiety disorder that is associated with social anxiety. A person with selective mutism won't speak in certain situations or to certain people even though they're capable of speaking. And these people, they won't speak even though they might get some negative consequences from being silent.
Are there any specific causes?
Well, most kids with selective mutism, they actually also have a form of social anxiety or phobia, and they also often have a family history with social anxiety or phobias as well.
With many parents in the audience, what should they look for in their children?
Some of the main symptoms are actually an ability to speak at home, but when they're around certain situations or people they don't know, they become shy and very unable to speak. So they don't really like new situations that cause stress, but also parents must keep in mind that the symptoms must be seen for at least 1 month to be considered selective mutism.
What can the parents do if they do see these symptoms in their children?
Well, first you guys should know that you should probably take your kid to a psychologist, but also there is actually no test for selective mutism, and the diagnosis is mainly based on the history of your symptoms. But thankfully, medications have been seen as successful with these types of cases.
Thank you so much for all your exhilarating information. I feel so much more knowledgeable.
That's all for this week's edition of Geekly Weekly. We have taken a trip down memory lane, interviewing Benet and his develops towards intelligence testings. We then hit the streets with IQ nerd walking to see who has what it takes to beat the mean. Agnes took a closer look at short-term memory in Geek Portal, and Jarek took it a step farther to show us how we can use mnemonic devices to help us study for finals. And finally, Gertrude listened in on a psychologist's take on selective mutism, leaving the crowd speechless. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week.